The content presented is for entertainment purposes only. Some content may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. So workforce has been a topic lately in a lot of the news articles.
Okay, so when you say the workforce, what exactly are you referring to? Are you talking
Employees.
about like? Okay, right, but are you talking about like a specific business, or are you talking just in general? Okay, gotcha.
In general?
And in general. Are you referring to
How I Met Your Mother?
I love that so much. I always say it lightly in my head, but I'm like,
that was such a...
it's going to be a major problem. Major problem?
Just talking in general. In general?
Okay, so
yeah, this is just talking in general about the workforce, mainly focusing on employees.
Okay, so is it like, do you think morale's dropping, or like employees, like turnover rate, or what's the specificality here?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. And this article kind of talks a little bit about some of the things that have caused such a downturn. I mean, obviously the shutdowns from the pandemic. I feel like this is in every single podcast.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the pandemic is part of life now, like currently anyway. So it's going to come up.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, this article talks about how, well, I mean, not this article. I mean, my opinion is that when we did do the mandated shutdown, a lot of small businesses went under.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I remember doing like a lot of shopping at local businesses, just because in my head I knew like these are also just human beings that are trying to support their families.
Oh yeah.
With the business that they got. So I remember like going and doing shopping at like just local, like shopping at Cedar City Main Street instead of Walmart.
Mm-hmm. Or like I'll try to go to the music shop if I need to get like strings or picks or
little sticks,
cables or microphones or whatever. I've been going to Cedar City Music.
Okay.
For cables.
My go-to is either Amazon or Whittle Sticks. Shout out to Whittle Sticks in Cedar City.
Yeah, dude, there's really cool. Like
Luke,
he's the one.
He's a good man.
He put new tuning keys on my guitar and my bass, and he fixed the intonation as best he could because they're cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it at a reasonable price, to be honest. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
He's a good man.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, I remember I do a lot of shopping there. I still do a lot of shopping there just because, like, whenever I need strings or whatever, like, that's where I'm going. Trust the guy. But, yeah, I just remember, like, doing all my shopping on one side of Cedar while everybody else was doing, like, the whole Walmart thing.
Yeah.
But,
I guess what's our closest to local shopping? Like farmers market?
Farmers market. So
we shop there as much as we can.
I like the bookstore here in Cedar. I like the bookstore. There's like a little clothing store on Main Street. I don't remember what it's called, but like I've gotten some clothes from there.
Oh, okay.
Instead of going to like TJ Maxx or Ross or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. The outlets.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Firehouse Subs, or just like even the pastry pub,
mm-hmm.
or going to get tattoos. Well, no, I don't have enough tattoos.
You don't have enough?
I don't have enough. I only have 2. 2 is not enough.
2 is not enough.
I need like.
It's never enough.
I have like 10 more planned out in my head. All I need now is just the finances to get them.
That's awesome.
Subscribe so we can get money so I can get tattoos.
Yay, there we go. We need to fill Alakai's tattoo fund.
Yep. What have you seen in your like experiences yourself in workforces?
Well, leading up to the closures of the mandate, I really struggled to hire people to go out for the summer and install security systems with me in our team. Majority of all of my veterans moved on,
myself included.
Yourself included.
Sorry.
Well, and Jacob moved on, and yeah, pretty much everybody that pretty much moved on. So I had like basically a brand new, spanking new like group, but it was really tough to hire people. I don't know if it was the area or if it was the mandates and the closure, or if it was the scare like back in like somewhere between like October, November when they started talking about it. So I don't know exactly what the deal was, but it was like my first year. I really struggled to like find people that wanted to work in general.
Yeah.
For me. And so it was a struggle to hire people.
Well, I think like if you read a lot of the reviews about working for Vivint, a lot of the reviews say like, oh yeah, this is like, none of the reviews are consistent because it's like, it's very
mixed. Yeah.
It's very mixed because every single person like has a different idea of the job.
Mm-hmm.
Some people love working 6 days a week. Some people absolutely hate working 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, honestly, I feel like 6 days a week was way too much. Like,
yeah,
I think we should have had like one of the weekdays off. I would have been fine working a Saturday, but like give us at least like maybe a Monday or Wednesday off.
Yeah.
Because I feel like having just one day was just horrible. It wasn't horrible. It was just not like, it wasn't enough to recharge. But
no,
like a lot of the reviews,
it's very physically demanding.
Right. But a lot of the reviews went into like, oh yeah, like this is like an awesome job. And there's a lot of other reviews that are like, it's a great job. You make a lot of money, but this is the most tired you'll ever be. Which, like, to be fair, for me, it was exhausting. Like, my hips were I would always go home feeling exhausted. Like, my hips and my legs would just feel so sore.
Yeah.
From carrying around that tool belt all day.
And going up and down ladders.
And, like, yeah, it was always like my legs were just exhausted. And every time I sat down on my couch, I was like, oh. And like ready to just like be done with the day, and then you get another text at like 10 p.m. at night, and you're just like, are you effing kidding me? Like, not only are you exhausted and ready to be done with the day, but now you got to go back into someone's home who doesn't really want you in their house that late at night.
Yeah. But it's got to go in.
But it's got to finish. Like that's the job.
Yeah.
So I think in a sense, like with that, there is like a decline in morality, or I shouldn't say morality, a decline in work morale. Is the word that I'm going for.
Yeah. Morality made sense. I mean,
well, either
that's
way,
right.
Like
both
work
those
morale.
are correct.
Well,
I'm pretty sure. I don't
know.
English well, so.
I think work morale just kind of like there's a lot of decline just because of the amount of work that you're doing and the setting that you're in.
Yeah.
Granted, it's just you got to do your best to like make it a good job, but like then again, like you're working for people in their houses, you're on their turf, so they can kind of decide for you how the night's gonna go.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think when if people were smart and they did their homework, like before or after an interview, I could see where maybe they would probably get scared off. I think like just in general though, with the whole, especially when the whole like COVID stuff came out and then like the shutdowns in March, a lot of people just bailed because they're just like, well, I don't know if I have a job, you know?
Yeah. And I think that was a big thing for a lot of other companies too, just because a lot of businesses started shutting down, like no one was getting any kind of income.
Yeah. Or if they were open and they were doing what they could with masks and, spacing out, as soon as somebody got it, they would lose a good handful of employees if it was a large place, and then they would be out for 2 weeks, and then they would come back. And
I think I remember seeing on the news somewhere like someone from like Seattle, like a place that was very like much on lockdown, everything turned into a ghost town.
Yeah.
Like went and did interviews in St. George. Well, a town like St. George was very much alive during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, some businesses had to close down, but like either way, St. George, that town was thriving, even with a pandemic going around.
Interesting.
Like, there was like a news place that was like, look at all these streets in Seattle. Now look at St. George. Everyone's living as if life is normal. Like,
yeah.
And yeah, I remember seeing that and being like, this is weird.
And most of the places that like had some of the worst spreading were actually the ones that had the harshest lockdowns, which is very fascinating. But yeah, man, I mean, when people are scared and people are unsure and uncertain, they're not going to take risks,
Yeah. I know, like, I didn't really take any risks that fall semester. I never went to class. Like, I attended on Zoom. I got all the online work that I needed, but I never like went on campus to do any of the classes. I always like attended via Zoom or just stayed home. Like, I did not risk going to SUU.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah. So I think that definitely was a part of a lot of the workforce, like reducing as well, because people were just scared to go back to work. I'm sure that some of the COVID relief aid that people got, I think some people got more than others.
I think you're right. I think not everybody who needed a stimulus check got one, and not everybody who not everybody who didn't need a stimulus check was getting one.
Yeah.
I don't know if that wording makes any sense.
No, I got you.
So people who didn't need it got it. People who needed it didn't get it. That's a better way to phrase it. We'll go with that.
And there are some people who used it as, for unemployment benefits, and basically had an income that was either equal to or sometimes even better than what they were making before.
Yeah.
There are some states that were doing that.
I just used it to pay for college. I was like, all right, this is going for school.
That's smart. That's smart. We only got the stimulus checks. We didn't get any other aid, unfortunately.
Same. I didn't either. I just got the stimmies. That's all.
Well, I mean, I did apply, for unemployment when I was no longer working with my previous employer. And it just kept getting rejected and getting rejected. And so I was told I can only apply for 14 or 16 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're just like, sorry, you can't apply for it anymore. I'm just like, well, I didn't even get anything from the first thing I should have got. And then kind of turned out that because I worked in so many different states, if I wanted to file for unemployment and get benefits, I'd have to fill it out for every single state I worked in.
Yeah.
In order to get anything. So that time I'd already passed, I got, I was making money again. So it was just like, well, it was kind of stupid. I literally didn't work for 2 weeks. I started doing gig stuff, trying to make money here and there, Uber and DoorDash. And then started working, delivering packages, and that's then okay for now. But yeah, I get it.
Do you like your current job, delivering packages?
I actually do.
Yeah.
It does put a lot of miles on the vehicle. I'm probably putting in between 60 and 80 miles a day, sometimes more.
But does it compensate you enough to be able to do consistent checkups on your car and make sure it's taken care of and everything?
I mean, just like when we were traveling and using our vehicles all the time, we had to maintain them and
right,
and fix them up and stuff like that when they break down. It is a concern of ours. In my opinion, I think we're definitely up than we are down
Okay.
You know,
That's good.
even with the gas prices up, you know, and the several raises I got, I feel like it's okay. In some weeks, I'm actually making more than my wife. So if it's a really heavy week, so it just kind of depends week to week. But I think for the most part, yeah, I enjoy it enough.
How often would you say that you fill up your car with gas?
Every 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
So some weeks, if it's a heavy week, it's like 2.5, 3 times. If it's a regular week, probably twice.
Okay.
So it's about $50 a tank.
I'm finding myself filling up my tank like maybe twice a week, but that's also because I drive up to Parowan almost every day. So
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's a good 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, each way.
Yeah.
That's not too bad though. I like Parowan, honestly.
Same. I love Parowan.
I wouldn't mind living there. But
I think
the houses out there are pretty old.
I think I would mind living up there just for the sole fact that, like, first of all, the houses are really old. Also, I would need a little bit more than just a food market. And
oh, you don't want to drive 40 minutes to Walmart, Pat?
Not really. I think if, like, when I do settle down, I do want to live in, like, either like a city or like a suburban town. Like,
yeah.
Not like Cedar City. I don't think that I would want to live in. I don't think I would want to live in Cedar
What about
City.
Enoch?
Enoch? Probably not Enoch.
Probably not Enoch.
Just because, like, Enoch, I feel like Enoch is smaller than Parowan. Like,
really?
it's like
I don't think so.
Sure, it's like
I've delivered.
It feels
there.
like a small extension of Cedar City, essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I wouldn't even call it a town. It's like a
district almost.
Yeah, it's like it's so small. It's like would you call it if it's not a city, you know, or a town?
Like a district.
Yeah.
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 Kind of like think of like New York, how you got like Brooklyn, you got Queens. Sorry, I'm just adjusting myself here.
No, you're good.
But like
adjust away.
Anyways, coming back to the workforce though.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about that.
But honestly, I lived there for about
in Parowan,
6-8 months, something like that. And I loved it for the fact that, you know, we were living in there in the fall and in some of the winter, but you could open up the windows and pretty much hear like regular stuff like dogs or horses or bugs or the wind,
Yeah.
but you don't hear cars.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot of cars. You hear
the 15.
It kind of honestly, like every time that I've slept up there, it kind of feels like I'm camping a little bit, just because
That's
like
kind of why I like it.
Just because like you wake up and like the way that the sun comes over the mountains, the way that like you get that fresh morning cool air. You can look in your backyard and you see deer walking around.
Yep.
And yeah, just I really do think that a lot of it has to do with the way that the sun comes up. Almost turning me into a morning person. I don't think I will ever be a morning person, but like
I'm a morning person when I'm camping.
Yeah.
As soon as that day breaks, my body wants me up.
Yeah. I was having this conversation the other day. I was like, I'm not a morning person, but when I'm camping, I am a morning person.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching the sunrise when I am sleeping in a tent.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy that.
Yeah. When Rianne and I, we went camping at one of her childhood memory campsites. And we actually got to be at the campsite that she, like her father would take her and stuff when they go camping.
Wow.
And what's really great about it is there's this stream that goes through the campsite. And this particular one, the stream was literally not like 20 feet away. So every night we're just like falling asleep to the stream babble in the background. I honestly don't think I've slept so well. Like for some reason with that in the background, it was like it kept me rested.
Yeah.
And actually sleeping well.
So like I don't know if you've ever fallen asleep with like YouTube or whatever is up and like you have like that long 10-hour like fire crackling or rain falling or like streams running.
I've tried it.
It's just not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've tried it and I actually end up paying attention to it more because I know it's a phone. It's not the real thing. And so it like psychs my brain out. I'm just like, I know this isn't real, but I want it to feel real.
I know. Sometimes like when it's raining outside, in my head I'm like, I really want to open a window.
Yeah.
But I also know that if I open a window
You're gonna get
and I fall asleep, like I'm gonna wake up and look at where my window is and be like, wow,
there's a puddle there.
This is awkward. So
Mr. Alakai, why is it wet all over the floor?
I peed.
I had a noopsie. I didn't put on my Depends this morning.
God.
Oh, good times. But anyways, back to our topic. So here's a couple of interesting quotes and we can comment on them. So this is from a New York Times article. Fall has meant to mark the beginning of the end of the labor shortage that has held back the nation's economy, the economic recovery, Expanded unemployment benefits were ending, schools were reopening, freeing up many caregivers. Surely economists and business owners reasoned a flood of workers should follow. Instead, the labor force shrank in September. This is this year. There are 5 million fewer people working than before the pandemic began, and 3 million fewer even looking for work.
Okay, so what are some factors that are causing these drop in 5 million people?
Well, a lot of it is the things that we were just talking about is that some people were able to, well, they say that some people were able to save money during the pandemic. I call shenanigans on that because let's be honest, every stimulus check that came in, I'm sure it was spent. Any income they were getting, more likely spent it so they could, keep rent and, water and trash and electricity and internet and all that fun stuff.
Okay.
But it says that was one of the factors was that, they were able to save money during this time. And I'm just like, I think in some sense that's correct because
Amazon's
people weren't
still
going
alive.
out to eat, but people bought a lot on Amazon.
Yeah.
And
You should
other
check-
online companies.
We should check Amazon sales during that time. See.
I'm sure it was good.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was good.
Yeah.
Because that's essential workers.
Yeah. So I think luckily for me, I've had a lot of really good leaders in all of the jobs that I've had, but I've also heard a lot of people kind of dipping out from their positions of work due to the leadership and maybe a drop of morale and
well, yeah, because your leaders and managers aren't happy with everything that's going on in the world.
Exactly. So then once your managers do see you, but they don't see you seeing them.
Right.
So it's
right.
all the while your frontline staff are seeing you completely fall apart while you're just well, I can't work for this person. I can't
right.
I can't expect to rely on this person. So
well, I also think that there's some companies that are kind of going out of their way to kind of get on, I'm sure there was other companies that were like, okay, well, there's a vaccine out. We're just going to automatically mandate it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there was companies out there that did that before Biden's anybody over 100 workers needs to, mandate a vaccine.
Yeah.
Vaccinations.
Luckily for all the places that I've worked for, I have not had a vaccine requirement. Thankfully.
I think that's good.
Granted, it does feel our workplace does feel kind of crowded sometimes, but I also feel it's just because we have a lot of people in a small space.
Yeah.
But I can also see eventually my workplace and maybe a lot of other businesses in Cedar being yeah, we have too many employees. We need to require a vaccine.
Mm-hmm. Overhead, garage, door.
Anyways, Jacob and I can hear the security system from upstairs.
Means my wife's home with food.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Man. So with that, Jacob, you have the qualities of a very positive and like reinforcing leader, and you tend, like, I've noticed that you're really good about bringing out people's strengths and making them feel confident in working. What are some qualities that you think are required in order to maintain that
as a leader?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I think it really depends on the person, because and their outlook. Like, I really think it's really telling on somebody who has a very negative outlook on life.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, this is from the book of Jacob, I believe that it bleeds over into the workplace. And so if they have a negative outlook on life, they have a negative outlook on what's going on in the workplace. And I've noticed that in the places that I've worked, that if I had a negative outlook, I would be a negative employee.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also relative to having somebody that's going to be a good leader, for your team lead. I think it's really important that they have somebody that does have a positive outlook, and that it doesn't really matter like how bad things get or how things kind of go sideways or things don't go the way it was planned, that they always have that positive outlook that it's okay. We'll keep working at it. We'll keep, coming up with different ideas, and we'll try to, something different until you find something that does work, and then, you're able to move forward.
Yeah.
I think just having a positive outlook is really, really good. When I was hiring people, I didn't really look for people that were skilled in the sense that it would apply to the job. For me, when I was looking for people to be on our team, like, they had to have kind of a positive outlook. And so I would always run them through like these really deep questions. And it was really kind of fun, because a lot of these people are just like, why are you asking these questions? People don't ask these questions. And, a lot of these interviews. And so I would ask them very deep questions. Okay, here's a situation, how would you handle it? Here's a situation. What would you do differently? And kind of see their initial process, their mental process on different situations. And I'd also ask them to give me experiences that outlined the things that I wanted in an individual that I wanted on my team. And if I felt like they answered the questions very well and they had really good examples of characteristics that I looked for in an individual, then I would hire them. It didn't matter if they were an electrician before. It didn't matter if they had plumbing, or, running Cat 5 or whatever. I just knew that they would have the positive attitude to keep working at it until they got it.
Gotcha.
And that's what I looked for in people.
So one thing that I noticed when I was working under you is that you're very...
You weren't working under me. You were working with me.
Okay. So either way, like...
I never saw anybody as an underling.
Okay. But either way, you were my manager and you were the person that I would go to when I had questions or needed support.
And the buck always stopped here.
Right. Therefore, my leader. At the time, one of the things that I noticed about you is you're a very empathetic and understanding person, and you're very relationship oriented. Mm-hmm. That being said, I've noticed that when you're like the way that you approach feedback, it was more like you offered support rather than saying this is going to happen if you don't step it up. Mm-hmm. And then... and
I would always ask.
Right, exactly. So,
like, hey, I have another idea or another approach to this. Would you like me to give you some feedback on it?
Right.
Or give you an idea?
Yeah. And you'd always have like you were just really supportive. Like there was never like, oh yeah, mistakes happen. Like we can afford to make some mistakes. It just depends on what it is.
Yeah.
And with the whole, so like I said, you're a relationship oriented person. Like I noticed on the job, like we would talk about life just while we were working, and you would always like make people feel confident to ask questions, and like you would always say the only dumb question is the question you don't ask.
Yeah, there are no dumb questions.
Yeah,
they might feel stupid at the time,
but if
because we're human beings, and we're just like, well, if I ask a question, then he might not think that I'm good at my job, or he might not think that I'm capable, or whatever.
Right.
And I get that.
But if you don't ask questions, then you shouldn't expect to learn anything from the answers that are given.
Yeah.
Anyways, but like I've kind of noticed that when I have leaders that are more like relationship oriented and like wanting to know their employees, like then you can better get to know their strengths and what they gain confidence from, and that's where you can target and kind of play off of that and find exactly what it is that they have to offer from that, which is something that I've utilized in like my own experiences in supervising. Like every time I had a new person come on my team, I just spent a lot of time just getting to know them, or I at least tried to.
Yeah.
Because then like you figure out who that person is, you find out where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and you know how to play off of it and train them to be the best that they can.
And I think that's really important because like a really good example, so the year when we had you and Johnny, you guys were training the same year, right? Or was he?
No, he was a year after me.
He was a year after you. Okay. So you guys were kind of close, but I'll kind of give you an example. So I remember when I started working with you and mentoring you into being a good technician. Like I knew going into teaching you that I would need to give you confidence and let you know, hey, you got this. Johnny was a little bit different. He had great confidence and he also wanted to be fast. And so he was like, okay. Because he was like, like dropping stuff, and you know how it is when you try to go fast when you shouldn't be going fast just yet. And so I'd have to remind him, hey, we need to slow it down a little bit. We need to be a little more thoughtful, a little more methodical. And I think it's important that you know the things that are going to help that person the most, and you need to keep giving that to them until they get to that point where everything's now muscle memory, especially if something that's as repetitive, as security installations or delivering packages or whatever. And so it's important to me that I kind of tailor my training to the individual that I'm working with, because everybody is so different. Like just one way is not going to work for every person. Like I know, and of course this is, from my experience from the past, but I know that if I push too hard on you, it'd be very difficult for you to continue on in the position. Right? So my critiques were very tailored to you. Just like my critiques were very tailored to Johnny. And in different situations, it's very individualized. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, I think there was another thing coming out, but it wasn't coming to me. So
here's the thing though. I remember when I first got onto that job, like you have the whole orientation on like the online training. Great. You need that. Love that. It's necessary for any job.
Yeah.
What I find that is also necessary for every job is the individualized training. just because like, you know, not everybody's brains are wired so differently.
Yeah.
Everybody has a very different approach. So it's like you should never expect that person to have the same approach as that person.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have two completely different ways. I remember working on like going to jobs to help you out. And like the way that you had your routine with every single job, like you had the way that you had everything set up, and then
go to step 1, step 2, step 3.
Exactly. And you had ways to like keep it efficient. So like when you were waiting for step 2, you could do X, Y, and Z in between. I remember working with Jacob McClellan. He had a very similar approach, but it was similar but different because he found his own unique way to like kind of tailor it. So he used, because I could tell he used a lot of the training that you gave him, but also kind of
made it his own.
Right. He made it his own. He added his own spice to it and then kind of gave it his own thing, and he had his own approach. Hence his own confidence in his work. And I remember too, like seeing all like on the queue, like all the jobs, like you'd have all the new technicians, myself included, we would be like this long, and
3, 4, 5 hours,
and then you have McClellan, who's over here with like 45 minutes,
hour and a half.
And I remember
5 cameras.
I remember going to his job and being like, "There's no way he's doing this in 45 minutes." Sure enough, he's doing it. Like, and it's funny because like I even utilize some of his skills because that's like another thing that employees do is like they build skills off of each other just from learning from each other.
Yeah.
So
and it's encouraged. Like in our group, it was very much encouraged, and so. Like, I always encourage, especially the new guys, I always encourage them to be like, hey, you know, when you're on Alakai's job and you're noticing he's doing something a little different with the garage controllers, ask him about it. You know, you'd be surprised what you can learn. Like it was every year I would always learn like 2 or 3 like new things from other technicians, just trying their own way and finding that way worked better for me. I loved that. I loved like learning from other people that were newer than me. It was really interesting.
I remember there's this one kid that we hired in Texas. I don't remember his name, but we hired him like maybe halfway through the summer. I think you might know who I'm talking about, but like there were like a few skills that I learned from him that I picked up like with.
Was it Jacob's cousin? Or brother-in-law?
No, it wasn't him. He joined like when we got to Amarillo, I think.
Oh yeah.
But it was like halfway through the summer. He was a Mexican kid. He ended up having to leave like a couple weeks after because of some stuff that he had going on.
Oh yeah, I know. I don't remember his name, but yeah, he had some.
Good kid.
Yeah,
good kid.
Picked it up really quick too.
Yeah, he did. He was awesome. I remember going to some of his jobs. And that's a bug.
Got it. Need a spray down here.
Yeah, I remember going to his jobs and being like, "All right, this is what I'm gonna do. What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this." And by the time that I was done doing my thing, he was already almost finished with the job. And I'm like, "Wow, I'm impressed, kid." Like,
he picked it up really quick. It was really unfortunate that we couldn't keep him on.
I think it turned out well just because like the rest of us made some good money.
Decent money, yeah. That's for sure.
But yeah, anyways, I remember like taking some of the skills that I had learned from both you and McClellan and utilizing them in one job I had for Mr. Money. Love that, man. And I remember like going into that job and be like, all right, we got this, and this going on. All right, done. And then I just did it all so quickly. And then I remember like sending Greg the text being like, I'm done. And he just texted me back and he was like, 45 minutes? Dang, this is my fastest one yet. I was like, walked away from that being like, yeah, you just boosted my confidence a little bit.
I did pretty good.
Just gave myself a pat on the back there.
Yeah.
And I think after that I was like smooth sailing for the rest of the summer. I did pretty okay on the rest of my jobs. So.
You did great. Everybody honestly did great. There wasn't the only people that I struggled working with was the ones that we were like basically just like dumped into, like the one in Maryland where we started out in Indiana and they whitewashed us. They kicked us out. Well, they didn't get kicked out of the
basically
area.
Had to retrain the entire team.
Yeah. That was ridiculous. I was just like, why are these second and third years taking 6 hours on jobs? I'm like, what is going on right now?
And it's because they didn't have like they didn't have unique ways shown to them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's some poor installations, like wires not being tacked, like holes not being puttied, like yeah, there was some pretty janky doorbell runs. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough, but man, were we able to like turn that around in a couple of weeks? It was tough. Well, except for that one guy that was just toxic the whole time. Outside of him, everybody else like improved, like at least got a 20 to 30% increase.
I'm
in productivity, like quality and all of that.
Did you end up hearing back from that team, from that sales team?
Which one?
In DC. The sales team in DC that we worked with.
Oh, that they wanted us to work with them the following year?
Yeah. Did you ever hear back from them?
No. They talked a big game and then they're
ghosted.
I was ghosted.
Which sucks.
Really strange.
Which sucks because I feel like our group ended up becoming like a really solid quality group of techs. Not hearing back from this like big money making sales team.
Yeah.
Granted, like some of them had some sketchy ass moves, but like still like we made some good money. I remember
we also were able to keep a lot of those installs in though because we had quality installers.
Yeah, I remember. I'll just go ahead and say his name. I won't say his last name, but Arthur. I would have loved to work with that guy again. Like he was actually very honest.
He was all right.
He was actually very honest in his sales. Like I don't think I ever did a job for him where I like walked in and felt sketchy, but he had like some quality. Like he sold really well, and like
he was a nice enough dude too. Like
I would have gone to work for him again, like 100%.
Yeah. Although if we had our team from Amarillo, but with the quantity that we got in DC,
absolutely,
bro, we would have been straight. Like honestly, we probably would have still be working there today if we kept working year over year with each other.
I think. Are you talking about Indianapolis or Amarillo?
I'm talking about Amarillo.
Really? I think I like the.
No. Was it Amarillo? Who did we work with Tyler?
Tyler was Amarillo.
Tyler was Amarillo?
That was money. That was
yeah, that was Amarillo.
I don't know about that one. I think there were like maybe 2 sales reps that I would have gone to work for again on that team. I loved the Indianapolis sales team. I loved those guys.
We really had a brotherhood going. If we could have,
I think if they sold as much as they did in DC. Oh man,
or even
I'd still be working for Vivint, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I love those guys.
Yeah,
those are some good guys.
Yeah. Did you know? So they're. I mean, okay. So kind of coming back, and I know we're about done.
Yeah, it's about time.
But there was some new news that came out recently that talks about the shipping issues that we're having. We have boats just sitting out there with containers on them, and they're not getting offloaded because the people that not only operate the cranes, but the people that would come in with their semis and pick up the containers and then take them across country, they're not coming in fast enough to pick them up.
Why am I not surprised?
So this is kind of the results. In my opinion, some poor management.
Well, it always starts with management. Granted, like management can't always solve the problems that they're given, but
this is true. But they messed up.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of one of those things. It's really important that you treat your employees well. Even if it's the most mundane, mind-numbing bullshit job you've ever had. Like, if you're working at McDonald's flipping burgers, you be the best burger flipper you can be.
And if you're managing that burger flipper, You make sure you boost that kid's morale to where he looks forward to coming into work the next day.
That's right. You say, Tony, you're flipping those damn burgers so good.
Talk to him while he's flipping burgers. Get to know that kid.
Yeah.
Like, get to know him. Like, encourage him.
Ask him what his aspirations in life is. What is he passionate about?
Yeah, exactly.
Those things are important in building relationships with your employees because, you know, aside from sleeping, like you're spending most of your time at work.
Sure.
So it's important to have good working relationships with people. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be best friends with people, but you definitely have to have good working relationships.
2 of my best friends I got from work. So.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. It's, you know, let's be better human beings today than we were yesterday.
Aye, aye, Captain.
And with that being said, from our family to yours, good night.
Bye.
Tell your mom we say hi.